I have no idea where laughing your ass off comes from an evolutionary standpoint, but I know that it builds some really strong meaning into life because I find that humor and laughter and that whole category is such a big part of my personal human experience. And when I see that someone else's human experience is deprived of that, that makes me sad because I think there is so much to find funny in this world. I think there's humor in pain. I think there's humor in good times. I think there's humor in misunderstanding. There's humor in understanding. I just think that it is a beautiful sector of the human experience, and that's what I'm talking about today. Now, it's so funny to think about social media, and I guess kind of the layered humor that has come from that whole world, almost to the point where it is an encrypted language. I made a little Instagram video months back, and I said Gen Z humor or Gen Z vocabulary is the most encrypted language in the world because it is just such a layered and sarcastic form of comedy. There goes my text tone. No way. Someone just texted me about my sarcasm in that very moment. That's kind of crazy. Okay, anyways, so the Gen Z slang and humor has a lot of layered sarcasm and inside jokes to where you can't even crack into it if you haven't really just been born into it or experienced life as a fun Gen Zer. So it's really funny to think about how far that's gone. And I think what's even funnier is the discrepancy between the content that I create and put out there into the world versus the kind of content that I consume. I think because I'm so obsessed in my own thinking about self-improvement, self-respect, morning routines, all of this serious stuff that I might talk about. I don't find myself gravitating towards that kind of content because maybe sometimes it feels like a cliche if somebody's talking about something I've already thought of a million times. So, God, I want to say my Reels feed is more, people getting hit by cars and super stupid shit that's just absolutely wild. I don't really scroll through Reels too often, but a couple times a week I'll just sit down and go, okay, I am actively going to scroll through these Reels and laugh my ass off because I have curated the funniest Reels feed on earth. You can ask my friends, it's true. But yeah, I just think there's something so valuable to that. And I don't know, for me, I feel like this came from my family growing up because I find that a lot of people with a really serious kind of upbringing, there's almost a tension because everybody wants to be kind of funny or say something crazy, but a lot of people get punished for that. Pretty much everyone in my close family that I grew up around, it was always kind of a laughing contest in a way. Everyone's always saying the crazy thing. Everyone's being kind of edgy. And surely, I don't know, maybe that's characteristic of kind of a northern family, or maybe that's just a wild generalization. But my whole family is from New Hampshire. I'm kind of the first generation North Carolinian. But, they've all got just kind of that sharp back and forth. And, the characteristic arguments also come along with that. So it's just a very sharp kind of family dynamic. I don't know how else to put that, but I feel like that's so valuable, actually. It might be kind of a chaotic image if maybe you're somebody that's not used to that sort of family dynamic. I guess kind of the token TV show Italian family that's just bickering and fighting and super loud and all that kind of stuff. I don't know why. I find that incredibly endearing. I just love the realness. I think it's kind of known that up north people are really sharp and harsh, but they really care about you. And sometimes a lot of the southern hospitality can come along with kind of a background. Maybe I'm just being nice on the surface, but don't really care. Again, just some generalizations, but I think it's fun to think about these little cultural differences. But yeah, I think my upbringing in that more sharp kind of dynamic brought out a real respect for humor and just being crazy and silly and whatnot. And that's one of my bigger focuses on myself, is that I love to be serious. I take my life ridiculously seriously when it comes to the way that I live, the way that I treat myself, just self-respect, that whole umbrella. But that's only super valuable because I give myself the other side. Even growing up, struggling with anxiety and compulsion and just these life shattering mental experiences in my own experience, I was still always saying funny stuff. I was always hilarious to myself when I'm going through something tough. I'm still making jokes. I'm still singing along to every single song and changing the words. And I don't know, I feel like that is a true relief from the very daunting human experience. There's a lot of serious and heavy nature to the things that we may go through, and I don't think that's ever going to not be the case. I think the fact that that won't ever be the case is what gives us a lot of meaning, and it builds strong purpose within our lives. But I think there is a need for relief. You see the people, even in an athletic sense, that are just go, go, go. They never want to stop. They're always pushing the boundary. But comfort is okay if it's in a healthy relationship with discomfort. So comfort doesn't actually exist without discomfort because it's a comparison term. So you're only comfortable if you've been uncomfortable before. You only know what comfort is because of discomfort. So there is kind of that relationship to it as well. But that doesn't mean that the comfort is a bad thing. Relief is not a bad thing. I guess it depends on what the relief is actually from. But the comic relief or humorous relief, I just think is one of the best tools to maintaining good mental health. And there's this idea of careful culture, which I'll get into, but people that are trying to make sure that they're never saying the wrong thing and they're within these mental bounds of what is it? What does PC even stand for? Why am I blanking on PC? What the heck? I need to look this up right now because that's going to bug the heck out of me. I know it's the most obvious thing in the world. What does PC stand for? Not personal computer. Political correctness. Holy crap. Yeah, political correctness. So people, I think in a lot of cases, feel very, very trapped, in the box of political correctness. And I just think that that is a complete waste of energy. It's not realistic. It's just people pleasing 10 layers deep. And that's just crazy because I don't care what culture you exist in. I don't care what career you exist in. You're driving home from that meeting with your lawyer, and you're singing Britney Spears just as much as the next person. So let's be honest here. To go back to just this meaning of humor, comedy, what that actually represents in a friendship or any kind of relationship, I think it can be the defining strongest disconnect or strongest connect between people. So with my friends, the humor is the bond, right? Because we might be able to say things or make jokes that nobody else would understand, but there is a sub foundation of understanding that makes these jokes actually hold meaning, even if they are absolutely ridiculous and stupid. So I just personally, I experience in this social media world that a lot of people are seeking to misunderstand, which is a huge general frustration of mine. when I am watching someone's content or someone's making a hot take, for example, I see that and I go, okay, I know what's going on here. There's a layer of they're trying to just say something outstanding so it gets views and engagement. There's a layer of, well, maybe they think this, and maybe what they said was a little bit clunky or it wasn't exactly what they meant. So I try to look for what they meant. I try to look for the intention. I seek understanding. Whereas I think a lot of people use misunderstanding as leverage. Because if you see somebody that's winning because of an idea that you disagree with, well, then I guess you can just advertise your misunderstanding as a way to make them look bad. Whereas seeking understanding, I think, always wins. Now, somebody could be acting in pure bad faith, and you could seek to understand it. If you still don't understand, then that's fine. But I think making the effort to try and understand people as much as you can, as much as a realistic time frame allots you the ability to do, I think that's a fair effort. I don't know. So seeking to understand is a big effort. It's a big value, and that's what creates strong connection. And then seeking to misunderstand, that is literally trying to be disconnected from people. That is trying to pretend like you don't say crazy things in your own mind, that you don't make horrible jokes in your own mind, and that not saying them out loud protects you from seeming like an imperfect person. No. You say the funny jokes too. We all know it. So when we talk about language, I think one of the most valuable languages is intention. So something I like to say is there's nothing more valuable than becoming fluent in the language of your own intentions. So if you know what you want, if you know what you mean, and then you can communicate that, holy crap, you are crushing it. So communication is rarely accurate to intention, though, in today's world. Every disagreement, I think, comes from a lack of effective communication. I don't think it's that strong of a difference in heart posture between people. I almost want to say that even the strongest disagreements in the political climate and on social media and the religion debates and all of this kind of stuff, I want to say that there probably isn't that much of a difference between left or right or one or two or X or Z, whatever the heck we are talking about. There's probably not that big of a difference in the fundamental desires of the individual. Now, values differences, morals differences, that's where, a disagreement can really hold some weight. But I think in a lot of cases, we're all saying the same kind of thing, but we're really, really bad at communicating our intention. Why is this? Well, I think most people are pretty bad at looking inward to learn that language to then be able to speak it. So it does take a lot of the let me sit and stare at the freaking wall kind of time to understand, again, become fluent, I guess, in your mind of the language and of your own intentions, but then turning that into spoken language, that's really hard. It's what I do for a living, and I'm still sitting here kind of skipping words and messing up and looking at the ceiling for what I want to say next. It's an art. It's never perfect, but I think that working on that skill of communication, that is a massive, massive benefit to build confidence, to have a stronger understanding of yourself, a stronger understanding of the people around you, social dynamics, being able to observe. These things are superpowers in today's world, because I think social media, the way that we're marketed to all of these different elements of modern human life, they kind of deprive us of the ability to keep refining these skills. And I just think that continuing to progress in that, again, it's a superpower. It enhances every single bit of life. It enhances your confidence, your ability to make decisions, live a life that you actually want to lead, instead of just kind of mindlessly going about life. I guess this would be the perfect opportunity to insert a little advertisement here of nothing outside of my own ecosystem, but definitely want to tell you guys about what I actually do offer to enhance these ideas I'm talking about to help actually change the world a bit. So I have a private community that's based on this very thing. I started an online group to basically have a platform for people to critically think, to communicate, to build their confidence through that, to learn about building strong routines, refining lifestyle. And it's all in a setting of people that do actually want to push the envelope of their own thinking, to actually expand their mind, have conversations about these things, ask the hard questions about life. And it's something I'm super proud of. Essentially, my goal is to create a group that has the influence to continue challenging people's thinking, because that's where life changes. I'm not a fitness coach, I'm not a nutrition coach, because I think these things, those are extensions of the self, and I've created this community as an enhancement to the self. How much can we revisit the conversation about what's your purpose, what's the why? How can you actually make practical changes based on this? And I want to have that workshop vibe of let's actually talk about what's going on. Hey, I'm dealing with this in my relationship. Hey, I'm dealing with this in my physical pursuits. How can I overcome this? Let's break it down. Let's get to the molecular level of understanding each other's minds and talk about it. So, little rant there. But this is my community that I'm creating. If this is something that you'd be interested in, I'll have the application in the show notes or description of this episode. But just want you guys to know about that. I usually talk about this a little bit at the end of each podcast, but I'm trying to honestly be more comfortable with just putting out there what I am proud of and what I'm trying to build, because this is kind of the heart of my what would I say, scaffolding of my pursuits. So, I just want to let you know what I offer. I don't want to be throwing ads into this kind of thing and just pushing random products and shit. So this is my way of saying, hey, here's what I offer. So let's keep on going with the chat. One way that I think you can start to refine your understanding of this own internal language is through writing. So in the community, obviously that's a big part of it too. Not only speaking, but writing on a decently consistent basis, reflecting on what you think. This helps you, kind of just craft the vocabulary around what you care about, what you think. And writing, it's a different skill from speaking, but it does help, because especially if you write in your speaking voice, then that can obviously help you refine your ability to speak. But I think if you're doing any kind of journaling practice or anything like that, you've got to approach it with honesty, because if you're writing just to seem virtuous or special, I don't know, you're not going to be writing for the purpose that you probably should. It's going to feel more like you're writing some sort of advertisement or something instead of just explaining what you truly think. It's not like you have to go sending your journal entries to social media or to your freaking family. So you can feel free to be honest in that practice. And I think that gives you the ability to really sit back and go, what do I care about? What do I want? What do I really think, aside from the influence of everybody else around me or what somebody would want me to say? What do I actually think? And that's a pretty special opportunity to give yourself to sit there and think about those things. So writing, really, really big value there. But yeah, again, to go back, I had a little note about religious debates, because it's something I kind of enjoy listening to, sometimes participating in. Not that I have any conclusion to sell in those conversations, but it feels like any time two reasonable people of differing faiths are having some sort of back and forth or some sort of debate, it's almost like they're saying the exact same thing. I'll talk to people about my own relationship with, I don't know, my past self or my future self, and it's almost this spiritual connection with what I want my life to be, and kind of the foundation of understanding that I want to carry out through my life and inspire other people to have. And then maybe the person I'm talking to will explain their faith in God, and how that relationship has just relieved them of kind of the toxic of the world's problems and thinking. And it's very, very different language. But it sounds like we're saying the same thing in a lot of cases. And again, the heart posture and the intention seems very similar, but it's different vocabulary. And it creates kind of a divide. It creates kind of a disconnect where I'm going, are you on the same planet as me? I mean, what could be so different about each of our experiences where, you've met God, for example, and God, my nose is running, and you just simply can't explain it. And then I have this experience within my own mind, and me being my own authority and whatnot. And sometimes I feel like I can't explain it. What could be so different here? Feels like we're saying the same thing. I don't know. So earlier I mentioned that I wanted to talk about this idea of careful culture. So my note over here says, careful culture is hell. And I completely think that is true. If you are constantly boxed in to trying to say the right thing, to make sure that you're never stepping out of line, look, you're never exercising your creativity in this fine art of communication and understanding and judgment or discernment of other people's mental bounds. I mean, there's just so much to it. To see how someone carries themselves, or see how someone dresses, or maybe a conversation that they had before they talked to you, and then you can judge what they're going to find funny or not. I mean, the only way that you really know these things is kind of through making mistakes in that. So you say the wrong joke to the wrong person, and you see how they respond. And you go, okay, well, there's about 100 data points within that. Oh, well, this person didn't like this joke. Okay, well, they've got blue hair. Cool. Okay, well, someone with blue hair probably believes these things, and then they're not going to like this joke. Oh, a person with the Trump flag on their thing, they're not going to like this statement because they've got this. But, I mean, it's just, you can pick up on all of these small details of, again, the clothing that someone wears, the ideas that they represent through whatever they're advertising on their social media and whatnot. And, I mean, it is unfortunate that today you can 9 times out of 10 see someone's outfit and know all of their political and religious beliefs, but it's kind of the world we live in. I definitely try to be the opposite of that. So most of the time, whatever somebody expects of me, it's probably not exactly that. Maybe sometimes it is, but again, you can utilize that and you can use it to your advantage so you can be more socially fluent. But to have to do that all of the time, you surround yourself by people that enforce that careful nature upon you, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Because if you just hang around people that are not going to get offended by every single thing, and they can actually take a joke and they can see the humor in plenty of different things, they can see through the words you say to your intentions. I mean, I'm biased, but I think that is just a world's better experience than always being careful, always trying to say the right thing and stay within those bounds. Because if you get punished for, social or verbal experimentation, I mean, can we all just be real? Life is too short to be upset about a joke. I mean, unless it was about my mom or something, I don't know if there would be a joke that could really offend me that bad, again, unless it was just being super mean. But man, I could not understand truly indulging in this careful culture, because again, it seems like hell to me. So in friendship, I think humor is one of the biggest indicators of closeness and understanding, because again, if you say something, there are words, you know what I mean? There's language involved, flat out objective. But there's a subjective understanding. And, again, you can say something absolutely ridiculous to any of my friends, and they would just probably chuckle. Because in most cases, if they know the person saying the crazy thing, they can look through the words and go, oh, well, of course this person doesn't mean that, right? And I just think that is a very gracious form of relationship, and it seems healthy. So I just write down these little notes, and sometimes I laugh at them because I think I write them to make myself laugh while podcasting. But people that get offended by everything have horrible lives because they never indulge in honesty. I think stand-up comedy is a really good example of this, where I mean, sometimes a comedian says something that is oh my gosh, we kind of all know this to be true, but I don't want to be the one to say it out loud. And then they do say it out loud, and then someone's ideologically bound to being offended and they have to speak up about it. That is just so miserable. And if the comedian is saying something that's not true and you're getting mad, well, why are you getting mad if it's not true? It's obviously a joke. So, I mean, again, that's just kind of a specific example, but going to a comedy show to get angry is one of the wildest things ever. So I just don't think that never giving yourself the opportunity to be fully honest and free, at least within your mind. I mean, you don't have to go around just verbally talking shit about everything and just making fun of people, but within your mind, I mean, you can give yourself the space to go, well, here's what I really think of this, even if I'm not going to tell the person next to me. I feel like people try and cut that signal in their brain, so they don't indulge in that, because again, it's this false heroism to be perfect and within the bounds of careful culture. I don't think so. Everyone's thinking it. That's I guess the phrase to kind of explain what I'm thinking here. Everyone's thinking it. Someone ought to say it. So that's that comedy sort of example. I just think that there's so much similarity in the human experience. Everyone has a very unique experience while also having almost the same exact experience to millions of people in a lot of ways. I think generally speaking, you always think that you're the only one, but you're not. You're not the only one that's experiencing what you're experiencing in literally any capacity. And so I think when it comes to humor, these funny moments, or just finding something funny that you're not supposed to find funny, it's kind of well, everyone's thinking it. No one really wants to say it. When someone does say it, it's kind of a relief. So I'm not telling you to be the one to say it by any means, but just know that you're not the only one thinking it. And I think that kind of honesty is really clarifying. Again, it's funny to try and bring, I guess, this idea of humor into a serious conversation or value-based conversation. But again, the value that can be found in being honest, knowing the language of your own intentions, having sharp communication about those things, it makes life a lot better. You're going to meet better people. You're going to more productively exist in any sort of social setting. And again, it's a fine art, very much worth exploring. And again, this is why for my community, I don't try and turn it into some hierarchy, levels-based, achievement-based sort of thing, because everyone's got their own things that they're trying to work on. And I also don't want it to be just some fitness thing, because fitness is an extension of you. Nutrition is an extension of you. It's an extension of how honest you are with yourself. It's an extension of how much you respect yourself. Even business, all of these little categories of life, it all comes back to, man, who the heck am I? How honest can I be? How well can I communicate that to other people? How often do I explore that side of my mind? So that is kind of the the trend, that I would love to create in this world on a large scale. And it's really hard because, of course, I'm swimming upstream. It's much easier to say, hey, well, join my whatever the heck group to make $100,000 a month. And that's very tangible for people. But, I'm speaking to the nuance of life. And it's hard to show people what they want, give people what they need kind of thing. But yeah, I want honest people. I want more and more honest people in this world to feel comfortable and confident in sharing that honesty, in living out, the honest version of themselves, and the idea of creating groups, creating content, creating anything that pushes that forward in this world. I can't not do it. I'm too compelled to see that kind of change. Of course, I'm trying to be an example, but if you can walk away with any sort of encouragement from me, is give yourself that honesty. If it's around humor, if it's around the serious things, around relationship, whatever you actually think, don't just act out, but God, give yourself a minute to just sit on it. Sit on, what do I think? What is my honest opinion? My honest reaction? What do I really want? You'll find so many freaking answers within that. And the world and the careful culture and all of this other bullshit, it's trying to take that away from you, but it's the most valuable thing. So please don't let go of that. Hey, if you liked this podcast, let me know. Throw it in the comments. If it's on YouTube or Spotify, I'd love to hear from you on both. I try to respond within a timely manner. It's not always perfect, but I do what I can. I'm human, okay? I'm trying. If you liked or loved this chat, this yap rather, give it a like. If you're on YouTube and on Spotify, leave the show 5 stars. I'd really appreciate that. And you can follow the show on Spotify. You could subscribe to the pod on YouTube so you don't miss next week's episode. I'm filming a pod every Sunday, and then another one posts every Monday. So basically, I'm a week ahead. So I'm in the future right now, is what I'm trying to say. My newsletter, I think you'll love it. And I write 2 of them every week. I send out 2 of them every week. And it's another form of the deep dive of my brain trying to make the world a better place, trying to be an example. Oh my gosh, the other day, when was this? Friday. On Friday, I essentially wrote my mission because I realized that I have not been clear enough in what I'm trying to conceptually and tangibly accomplish in this world. And so I wrote the whole thing. It'll be a newsletter. It'll probably send out in 2-3 weeks from when you're hearing this episode. But I feel really good about it. I feel really inspired by it when I get to sit down and write, and just the ideas equal what is on the page. That feels really, really good, and this was definitely one of those. So that'll be a newsletter, but it's totally free. The link to subscribe to that will be in the show notes and description of the episode. And I believe that's all I got for you. Psych. 3 words, and you should know them by now. No phone dinner. When you're eating dinner tonight, don't use your phone. Come on. Why would you have your phone out while you're eating dinner? Pay attention to the food. Pay attention to the freaking texture of your wall. Look out the window. See what's going on. Look at the fan spinning around in the ceiling. I don't know. Just pay attention to the present moment instead of all of the extra freaking noise from the world outside of the scope of what you can even see with your own eyes. Get off the phone. Get off the computer. Turn the TV off. Turn the music off. Everything else, everyone else can shut the hell up. And you get to pay attention to what's going on right in front of you, which might be your friends or your family. That's beautiful. You don't want to just shut off relationships in real life. That's the real beauty. Even if you're by yourself, there's a real beauty there too. Enjoy your own company, but turn off the damn screen, for God's sake. Folks, I love you guys. This was fun. Sitting here trying to explore my own ideas and communicate them wildly imperfectly. Here we are on the other side once again. I'll see you next time. I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye bye.